Good afternoon, welcome. This is the 3 p.m. press conference for the park incident. I'm Jonathan Cox, CAL FIRE Incident Management Team 3. The intention of this briefing is to share the latest incident information, and today we'll have speakers from Butte County, Tehama County, and Shasta counties. We'll start with an operational update with CAL FIRE Incident Management Team 3 Operations Section Chief Mark Brunton.
Good afternoon. The past 24 hours of the fire, I've seen some significant changes as far as the increase of fire activity starting yesterday afternoon with the weather changes that we're experiencing. We had a break for 48 hours prior to that. We were able to do a lot of good work, establish some good control lines, and go direct on the fire. However, with the changing of the weather, we've seen increased fire activity. We've been challenged a few times on the lines, but have also had some very good resources to mitigate some of our issues. So just taking around the fire, the lower part and what we call branch 10 is in really good shape, mop-up patrol status. We did see about 24 hours ago some minor spotting that came out of that. The resources took care of it, but still looking really good and holding throughout that. So we're continuing our mop-up and patrol status. Moving further up on the west part of the fire is around the area of this, our Division TJ, is we had some fire spot out in that area. Resources jumped on that very quickly, utilized aircraft extensively there, and throughout the day today they've been using a mobile retardant base for the helicopters to dip out of and to be able to lay a lot of retardant in to help strengthen our lines that are already there. And then we are going as direct as we possibly can. Due to some of the topography and the fuels in there, very difficult to work with some of our dozers and hand crews, but they are diligent working. As we continue to move up towards the Highway 36 corridor, again, yesterday we had significant spot fire in that area. Crews again were able to engage on that, work throughout the night diligently, and then through this morning getting some direct line on that and starting to mop that up, but they have not had any further spread of that one particular spot fire. Moving along 36, where the fire crossed a few days ago, that's looking actually very good. Direct line, heavy mop up, not seeing a lot of heat in that part of the fire, which is a really good news for us. As we move across and back down the other side of 36 down 32 corridor, a lot of change in the topography, the fuel types, giving a lot of challenges there. That's a work in progress. It requires a lot of resources in there to accomplish the mission and create good direct line that will hold and to be able to put suppression resources in there. So that's just an ongoing project that's going to take a lot of time, a lot of effort, and a lot of resources to accomplish. We did also see some significant spotting yesterday afternoon, and today we are seeing some more of that in that particular area. So far, we've been able to control those spot fires with our resources on hand. As we continue to move down the 32 corridor to Butte Meadows, yesterday we had a significant spot fire in that area, moving into heavy fuels. Again, because they had good contingency plans in place and resources at hand and great line leadership, they were able to jump on that. And really that spot fire really had a lot of potential to move up and grow, but they were able to keep that mitigated to about 150 acres. They're continuing to work on that, install lines, and mop up. They have seen some spotting throughout the day today, but nothing significant. They've been able to jump on those right away. We've been using a lot of assets to be able to detect that early. Some of our infrared flight equipment and aircraft been able to pick it up sooner than later, and they've been able to jump on some of those spots. So that's been a really good asset for us. As we move further down towards Forest Ranch, fire has been pushing the line on 32, but stuff that the resources have been able to jump on and mitigate right away, and that's looking much better than it was. As we continue to move further down towards the heel of the fire, a lot of that is into a mop-up patrol status. The community of Cohasset, again, very heavily mopped up, patrol status, and mitigating any hazards within there as far as burned out trees and so forth within that community, but that's holding and looking very good. As part of this, we've also established a number of contingency lines in Tehama, Butte, and into Shasta County. The containment lines that contingency lines they're putting in the Shasta area, they anticipate they will be done this afternoon, and that will be very good to protect that county as far as any incursion of fire if this were to get up and start running again. In both the Tehama and in the Butte areas, they've been utilizing targets of opportunity in putting in the contingency lines, shaded fuel breaks, fuels reduction projects that have occurred, and so forth, to give us a level of success in providing a contingency line if the fire does spot or end up spreading. So we have those in place. We've also established a large-scale strategic planning element so that we have a full primary, alternate, contingency, and emergency line placement so that we have a plan moving forward that with the way this fire ran in the past few days, that we can fall back as needed to those other alternatives and place resources and have success with at least corralling, if not stopping the part of the fire. We have had a significant amount of rotor and fixed-wing aircraft that's been available to us. We've been utilizing that extensively to support the ground operations, and that's been very successful. We've been able to establish a couple different helibases so that if we get where the fire activity increases, we have shorter flight times, and we will, if we find areas that have significant smoke, that we'll be able to fly out of another helibase to deliver the water dropping aircraft capabilities to the other portions of the fire. So far, we've had really good success with our ground resources. We're continue to get more ground resources from throughout the state and also from outside the state to help us mitigate this incident.
Speaking next is CAL FIRE Incident Management Team 3 Incident Commander Billy C.
All right, good afternoon. The park incident sits at 370,000 acres, 53,000 acres within the Butte County, and 317,000 within Tehama County. It's 12% contained at the moment. We have nearly 5,000 firefighters on the ground fighting this fire between Butte and Tehama. 39 helicopters assigned to 3 different helibases are being utilized, including night flying helicopters to assist the firefighters on the ground. We've initiated the damage inspection process of the incident. 48% of the total footprint of the incident has been completed. 542 site inspections, 8 field teams out in the field daily. In Butte County, we have 76 confirmed destroyed structures, 4 damaged structures. In Tehama County, we have confirmed 35 destroyed structures with 2 damaged structures, totaling for this entire incident 111 destroyed structures and 6 damaged. The park incident yesterday became the 6th largest fire in California history, and that occurred in only 6 days. This region, both Butte and Tehama, over the course of time in California, has had 4 of the largest 10 fires known in history. The firefighters are working extremely hard, gaining perimeter control daily, and will continue to serve and protect the citizens of California and Butte and Tehama County. Thank you.
Speaking next, the Butte County Sheriff.
Good afternoon, everyone. Corey Honey, Sheriff of Butte County. I think things are moving in the right direction, and I'm pleased with the progress that is being made. Earlier today, we were able to remove the evacuation warnings from zones 311 through zone 316 in North Chico. In addition to that, we were able to remove the evacuation warnings from Magalia. The area above Magalia still remains under warning. We're working very closely with CAL FIRE and our local Butte County Fire to get some areas opened in Forest Ranch, and we're hoping that after this meeting tonight we can take another look at that. The issue is making sure that that area is safe enough to open so that people can return. There is a strong desire on the part of all of the emergency managers and first responders dealing with this situation to get that open as quickly as possible. That said, when we do get it open, and I'm hoping that maybe we have some good news later this evening or first thing tomorrow, it's very important that people, as they go back into those areas, especially if they're in areas that have been burned through, that they're careful. There could be hot spots or hazards that they have to be cognizant of. If you see something like that, you need to avoid it and call the fire department to come out and help you deal with that. But at the end, it's important that you help us protect your safety by not getting into the area and doing something that could get yourself hurt. The city of Chico currently has one zone under evacuation order and one zone under warning. Paradise was also able to remove the evacuation warning today when we were able to lift the evacuation in Magalia, so that's a positive thing as well. And as it sits here today, I think we have about 4,200 people under the evacuation order. Last night I reported to you that we suspended our escort program because one individual went in after lying to us and then refused to come out. I'm happy to report that as we speak, that individual is being escorted to my office so that he and I can have a discussion. After that, we're going to look at ways to get that escort service up and running again. We will likely have an update for you tomorrow with a program on what the parameters will be. My hope is that we don't have to run that escort program for very long, that we're able to get portions of Cohasset up and running and open so that you can get in there. But if we're able to get the escort program up and running, it will be on a case-by-case basis. We're going to evaluate the requests and accommodate those with the priority. But I want to be really clear about this. When you're calling into the sheriff's office, you're speaking to our dispatchers who are also answering 911 calls from throughout the county. There's a lot of tasks that they have to deal with. There's a lot of situations that they're being burdened with. We recognize how stressful this is for the community. We recognize that you need to get back in there and you want to get back in there. But you have to also recognize that my staff is taking a lot of the brunt of this. Our dispatch center has very few resources. They've been working without days off, long hours. And so if you call in and request an escort and you if you lie to them, if you call them the B word, if you call them the C word, or you're otherwise obscene and rude to them, your name is going to go to the bottom of the list, and I'm not going to accommodate that. I can't afford to have those people take the kind of abuse that they've been taking because they're doing the best job that they can. And the same goes true for the traffic control points. Those people are doing the best that they can. If you come up and you act like a jackass to them, you can expect that we're not going to be very helpful when it comes to that. Butte County, we have been through this before. We know how to do this. You know how to do this. I need us all to be our best selves and work with one another so that we can get through this. I recognize the frustration and I respect that, but you also got to recognize that first responders are taking a lot of abuse and it just doesn't need to happen. Thank you.
Speaking next from Butte County Public Information.
Good afternoon, Miranda Bowersox, Butte County Public Information Officer. Shelters remain open for residents impacted by the evacuation orders. The neighborhood church located at 2801 Notre Dame Boulevard in Chico, small animal shelter at 2279 Del Oro in Oroville, and the large animal shelter at 1985 Clark Road in Oroville. The animal shelters are currently operating from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. As evacuation orders and warnings are lifted, residents are encouraged to pick up their pets from the animal shelters. Please remember to bring your intake form as well as an ID. and make sure to have food and water for your pets as well as proper containment for them as you pick them up. Thank you.
Next, Butte County Public Health.
Good afternoon. I'm Lisa Almaguer, Public Information Officer for Butte County Public Health. I'm here to share health and safety information about returning to fire-impacted property. The health and safety of you, your family, your neighbors, and the community is our top priority. The Park Fire has left a path of significant public health and environmental concerns. We know from past fires that homes and property destroyed by fire contain high and concerning levels of hazardous material. These include asbestos, oils, fire retardants, pesticides, dioxins, and heavy metals. Exposure to these materials may lead to acute and chronic effects and may cause long-term environmental health impacts. As areas affected by the fire are opened, we urge residents to review the health and safety precautions for re-entry packet, which these packets will be distributed at re-entry checkpoints and also available on the Butte County website. When returning home, protect yourself from the ash and debris by wearing sturdy covered shoes, long pants, gloves, and an N95 mask. Additional dangerous conditions include embers and hot ash, puncture hazards including broken pipes, exposed nails, broken glass, and damaged structural elements. Potential explosive hazards include propane tanks, ammunition, and solvents. Spoiled food is another concern. Food is considered unsafe after a power loss of 4 or more hours. If you had food remaining in your home or your property, all food should be discarded. Never taste food to determine safety. You cannot rely on the appearance or the odor to determine food safety. If your refrigerator has been non-operational for an extended period of time, the food inside has gone bad. As we say, when in doubt, throw it out. Regarding water, if you are served by a public water system, contact your water service provider for information regarding water safety. If your home has lost water pressure at any point during the fire, water from your tap should be considered unsafe. If you have a private well, you will need to inspect your well for damage and disinfect and sample your well water. Instructions are available on the public health website. Additional water safety information is available in the health and safety reentry packet. Lastly, special considerations for children are important. The best protection for children is to keep them away from destroyed homes and property with the hazardous ash and debris. Even if care is exercised, children are inquisitive by nature and will likely touch the ash and look for lost toys. Most N95 masks, even small ones, are not small enough to properly fit and protect children from the ash and debris. Thank you very much, and please stay safe and healthy.
Next, we'll be getting an update from the Tehama County Sheriff and the Shasta County Sheriff.
Good afternoon. Dave Kane, Tehama County Sheriff. I just want to give a couple brief updates on the statuses of our evacuation orders. I'd like to address that we extended the evacuation order in the area of Dale Station. That was more of a cleanup area that we needed to fix on the Genesis. We also have a road closure that has moved from Highway 36 and Dale Station to Highway 36 at Hog Lake. We've also expanded evacuation orders to dozer lines in the western edge of the fire of Dairyville and Las Molinas. Rest assured that there are dozer lines there, and so we just bumped down to the dozer lines, so when you see those changes, you'll know that that's there. We have relaxed some warnings in some areas of the county. One of the area is the Vina Plains. We also changed some of the zones in zone 496 and 462 in the northwestern area of the fire. Those were divided, removing out some of the areas from the evacuation warning and allowing people to go back to just regular status. Refer to the Genesis map for any details regarding that. Our feeding, watering, and transportation of animals program under escort is still occurring. It's going well. We have not had any issues with the citizens going in there. They've been very cooperative, and we appreciate that. We've doing that based on scheduling through our office at 530-529-7940. You can call and make appointments. If for some reason you're dealing with more specific ag animals, you can contact the Tehama County Ag Department, where you can get an ag permit to get in to deal with the animals. This morning, I heard on the radio on the way in an incident that occurred in Manton regarding a looting incident. I just want to kind of put to rest any issues associated with that. Mr. Jay Wood was arrested by the Anderson Police Department after a search of his vehicle located indicia associated with theft from a residence in the Manton area. After doing some investigating through our sheriff's office with the Anderson Police Department and other allied agencies, we learned that Mr. Wood actually lived at the residence and refused to evacuate during the course of the evacuation orders. Some days later, when he chose to leave the residence, he took many of his roommates' belongings with him. So this was not your average looting incident. And as a result, the Anderson Police Department was able to identify him, find him, and locate the property. But I can assure you that our patrol details are working feverishly in the closed and evacuated areas so that we can provide safety to your homes while you're away from them, and that this was not as necessarily advertised. I'm going to ask you to be very patient. This fire is extremely unstable and unpredictable. As I've worked it and my staff has tiredly worked it over the last many days, we've seen many places that we thought were going to be safe to move back into erupt in flames again, and have to have the firemen go back in and resolve that. We are trying to work with fire officials and try to get people in to their residences as soon as possible, but only when safe. So we're asking you just be patient and stand by. We'll get you in there as soon as we can get you in there. At the end of this, I'd just like to thank the tireless work of our staff, the fire staff that's been here, the national assets that have come in, assets that have come in from outside the county, all to help us fight our fire. This is a significant impact to the Tehama County Sheriff's Office and Tehama County community as a whole. This is the entire eastern portion of our county that is on fire, and I can't say enough about our staff at the Sheriff's Office and everyone else that's come in to help out. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everybody. Sheriff Michael Johnson, Shasta County Sheriff's. I just want to start off, we're not as heavily impacted as my two neighboring counties here, but we have had some evacuations and we have been impacted with deploying resources to help. So on that note, I don't want to diminish the anguish and the stress and everything of my neighboring communities, but my community has had a few areas where those stressors are the same. So to start out on a little bit of good, positive note, I'll tell you that we're moving 6 zones from evacuation order zones to evacuation warning zones. And we're taking another 6 zones and they're moving from evacuation warning to normal status. So you can go on Genesis Protect and look at those zones and see which zones are being affected. It's generally the western area of the Millville, Cottonwood zones that are changing. But that means some repopulation and people able to move back into their residence and occupy their areas and their property. I know that's a very stressful thing. If you've heard the 2 prior sheriffs talk about that, the only thing I won't reiterate all of that, but I would like to say this. If you're a affected resident or resident that's anywhere near those fire lines, just because you can no longer see a plume of smoke or you can no longer see what you saw before when you were evacuated, that doesn't mean that the fire danger is gone. That's simply sometimes a shift in weather and atmospheric pressure and whatever it may be, but it doesn't mean it's now okay to occupy just because you were evacuated. It's very important to know because people bring up that point all the time where they say, well, it's not like it was, it's not smoke anymore, I don't see the plume, I think it's safe to go back in. We rely on the firefighters, the fire science, and the expertise of the folks that do this day in and day out. All three of our counties have experienced multiple fires in the past, and we know, even as law enforcement, that it's not as it appears. And so we rely on that information from the frontline people to give to us to tell us when it's safe for our residents to reoccupy those zones. Today, just not counting fire personnel, just support personnel in Shasta region, we had various agencies that I want to mention that are helping. Of course, we have a number of our deputies working overtime and managing the fire, and command staff staying up and working all weekend. We also have Reading Police Department, CHP, Anderson Police Department, Fish and Game, and our county roads out there on a regular basis, manning those roadblocks and doing the work that's needed in those areas. You heard Sheriff Kane talk about looting and what goes on behind some of those closed lines. I could tell you that I'm just speaking for our agency alone. Over the weekend, we've made several felony arrests behind those evacuated areas and closed lines. And that goes to the credit of all those agencies I've told you about that are putting in the overtime and patrolling and protecting people's properties and their homes. Anybody that's back there is not passed over. They're looked at as a felon, a looter, a criminal who is back there for a reason that is nothing good. So they're contacted and they're put through the paces to find what they're doing back there. So just know that that's an ongoing thing, and all agencies are doing that and trying to protect it the best we can. It's a pretty pathetic thing when you got criminals out there looting houses where people have been evacuated out of in a time of emergency, and we have zero tolerance for that. Everybody does, and we'll continue that. Our shelter is at the Bella Vista Elementary School that remains functional and still serving the many displaced residents that we have. That'll stay open until further notice, even though we're starting some repopulation efforts. And last but not least, I'd just like to thank all the allied agencies that are involved. It's great to be in the North State and have the cooperation that we do between everybody. There's not fighting over territories or jurisdictional boundaries. Everybody's coming together very nice. And if you've never seen CAL FIRE put together a incident command and a operation like these fires, then you have no idea what organization is truly about. So my hat's off to you guys. You do a fantastic job with that. And we'll be coming back to you with more updates and repopulation efforts, God willing, that the fire gets more under control and contained. Thank you all.
Finally, as a reminder, all of the latest fire information, including a map and links, can be found online at fire.ca.gov. This concludes our press conference. Thank you for joining.